My name is Emily Carter, and I never thought my own family would uninvite me from a wedding I was paying for. Not just helping with, not just contributing a little bit toward, paying for. The whole reception hall, the catering deposit, the bar package, the flowers for the tables, even the custom lighting my younger sister, Madison, cried over because she said it made the room look like a fairy tale. That was the exact word she used. Fairy tale. And for months, I believed I was helping give her one. Madison was my baby sister. There were 8 years between us, and for most of my life, that meant I was part sister, part second mother. When our dad left when she was 10, I was the one who picked her up from school while our mom worked late. I helped with homework. I taught her how to curl her hair for prom. I took her shopping for her first job interview outfit. When she called me crying after her first breakup, I drove 40 minutes in the rain just to sit with her in a parking lot and eat fries until she stopped shaking. So when she got engaged to Daniel, I was genuinely happy for her. Daniel was kind, patient, and stable in a way Madison had never really known how to choose before. He looked at her like she was the only person in the room. I liked that. I wanted that for her. The engagement dinner was held at my mother's house, which already told me there would be drama. My mother, Linda, had a way of making every family event feel like a courtroom where she was both judge and victim. Nothing was ever simple with her. Every compliment had a hook in it. Every thank you came with a reminder of what she had sacrificed. That night, Madison showed off her ring. Everyone clapped, and my mother cried loudly enough to make sure no one missed it. "My baby is getting married," she said, pressing a tissue to her face. "I just wish your father was here to see it." The room went quiet, like it always did when she brought him up. Madison looked uncomfortable. Daniel squeezed her hand. I looked down at my plate and tried not to sigh. Then came the wedding talk. Madison wanted a proper reception. A beautiful hall, nice food, music, decorations, the kind of day she had dreamed about since she was little. But Madison and Daniel were saving for a house, and our mother had made it clear she couldn't possibly help much. That was when everyone slowly looked at me. I was the successful one. That was what my family called me when they needed money. When they were annoyed with me, they called me cold, too independent, or acting better than everyone. I owned a small interior design business. It had taken me 12 years, 2 failed partnerships, and more sleepless nights than anyone in my family ever cared to know about. I was not rich, but I was comfortable. Comfortable enough that I could help when it mattered. And Madison mattered. She didn't ask me right away. That was the part that got me. She waited until after dinner, when I was helping wash dishes in the kitchen. She stood beside me, twisting her engagement ring around her finger. She said softly. "Can I ask you something?" I already knew. I turned off the tap and looked at her. She started crying before the words came out. "I don't want some huge, crazy wedding," she said. "But I just want one day that feels special. One day where everything looks beautiful and Mom isn't stressed and Daniel's family doesn't think we're, I don't know, messy." That word hurt because I understood exactly what she meant. Messy was our childhood. Messy was unpaid bills and shouting behind bedroom doors. Messy was pretending everything was fine when teachers asked why Madison kept falling asleep in class. I hugged her. "It'll help," I said. She pulled back, eyes wide. "Really?" "Yes. It'll cover the reception hall." She sobbed into my shoulder like I had just saved her life. The reception hall she wanted was called Rosewood Manor. It was beautiful, elegant, and expensive. Too expensive for Madison and Daniel. But I knew the owner through my business, and after some phone calls, I got a decent package. Still, it was a lot of money. I paid the deposit with my card, then the second payment. Then the final balance was scheduled to be charged 2 weeks before the wedding. Everything was under my name, because I was the one paying. At first, everyone treated me like a hero. Madison sent me heart emojis constantly. Daniel thanked me every time he saw me. My mother told her friends, "Emily is taking care of the reception," with the kind of pride she only showed when my money made her look good. But then the guest list started. That was where things changed. Daniel's family was bigger than ours, and apparently much fancier. His mother belonged to charity committees. His father golfed with doctors and lawyers. His cousins were the kind of people who posted photos from vineyards and ski resorts. My mother became obsessed with how our family would look next to them. She started calling me with strange suggestions. Emily, do you have to wear that black jumpsuit to the bridal shower? It makes you look a bit severe. Emily, maybe don't mention your divorce around Daniel's family. Emily, please don't tell that story about Madison cutting her own bangs. It's embarrassing. I had been divorced for 3 years. It wasn't a scandal. My ex-husband and I had simply grown into different people and ended things respectfully. But in my mother's world, divorce was a stain, especially when there were well-dressed strangers to impress. I let most of it slide because I didn't want to stress Madison out. Then came the dress fitting. Madison had invited me, Mom, Daniel's mother, and 2 bridesmaids. I arrived with coffee for everyone and a little gift bag for Madison, a pearl hair comb she had admired but said was too expensive. She loved it. She hugged me tightly. For about 10 minutes, everything felt good. Then my mother started. When Madison stepped out in the first dress, everyone gasped. She looked beautiful. Truly beautiful. The gown was soft satin with lace sleeves, simple but elegant. Madison stared at herself in the mirror like she couldn't believe the reflection belonged to her. I teared up. You look perfect, I said. My mother glanced at me. Try not to cry too much, she said. You'll make your face puffy. The bridal consultant laughed awkwardly. Madison looked down. I ignored it. Later, while Madison was changing, Daniel's mother asked what I did for work. I told her about my design business. She seemed interested and asked about some of my projects. Before I could answer fully, my mother jumped in. Emily is very busy, she said. Work has always been her whole life. Some women choose family, some choose career. The room went cold. I looked at her. That's not fair. She smiled like she hadn't just insulted me. Oh, don't be so sensitive. Daniel's mother looked uncomfortable. The bridesmaids stared at their phones. I should have said more. I should have called it out right there. But I looked at Madison's dress hanging nearby and swallowed my anger. It was her day, I reminded myself. That became my excuse for everything. When my mother criticized my hair trial, I stayed quiet. When she told me I should sit at a table near the back with the cousins instead of the family table because space was tight, I stayed quiet. When she suggested I shouldn't give a speech because people don't want a lecture from someone who thinks they know everything, I stayed quiet. But the worst came 3 weeks before the wedding. Madison invited me to lunch. Just the 2 of us. I thought maybe she wanted a break from planning, or maybe she wanted to thank me properly away from our mother's constant drama. She was already seated when I arrived. She looked nervous. Her hands were wrapped around a glass of water she wasn't drinking. I sat down. What's wrong? I asked. She looked at me, then away. Please don't get mad. My stomach tightened. Madison. She took a shaky breath. Mom thinks. And Daniel's mom kind of agrees. That maybe it would be better if you didn't come to the wedding. For a second, I didn't understand the words. They reached me, but they didn't make sense. I actually smiled a little, like she had made a bad joke. What? Her eyes filled with tears. Please don't make this harder. I sat very still. You're uninviting me? She flinched. It's not like that. What is it like? She looked around the restaurant, embarrassed by my calm voice more than she would have been by shouting. Mom says there's already tension, and Daniel's family is very traditional. She thinks with your divorce and the way you can be kind of intense, and because Aunt Carol might bring up old family stuff if you're there. I held up a hand. My divorce? She looked ashamed. I didn't say it. Mom did. And you agreed? Madison started crying then, quietly and pathetically, like she was the victim. I just want one day with no drama. I leaned back in my chair. No drama, I repeated. She nodded, wiping under her eyes. And in the drama? No, not you exactly. It's just, you and Mom can't be in the same room without something happening. Because she says cruel things and expects me to smile. Madison whispered. This is what I mean. That sentence landed like a slap. I stared at the girl I had practically raised. The girl whose wedding reception I was paying for. The girl who had cried in my kitchen and begged for one beautiful day. And suddenly I saw it. She didn't want me there as her sister. She wanted me there as a wallet. But even then, because I loved her, I tried to give her a chance. Madison, I said slowly, do you understand that I paid for the reception hall? She nodded quickly. And am grateful. Am so grateful. Nothing changes that. Nothing changes that? No. We still appreciate everything. I almost laughed. You still appreciate everything. You just don't want me to attend the wedding I paid for. She closed her eyes. Please don't say it like that. How should I say it? She didn't answer. The waitress came over, saw our faces, and immediately said she would give us a few more minutes. Madison leaned forward. Please. The final payment is already scheduled, right? Everything is basically done. I promise after the wedding we'll talk. We'll fix this. I just need you to do this one thing for me. That was the moment something inside me went quiet. Not angry, not broken, just quiet. Because she wasn't asking me to forgive her. She was asking me to finance my own humiliation. I picked up my handbag. Emily, wait. I stood. No. Her face changed. No what? No, I'm not doing this. She looked terrified now. What does that mean? It means you need to talk to Mom and Daniel's mother and whoever else decided I'm too embarrassing to sit in a chair and eat chicken at an event I paid for. I hope you enjoy your lunch. I walked out before she could start crying louder. By the time I reached my car, my phone was already ringing. Mom. I let it ring. Then Madison. Then Mom again. Then a text from Daniel. Emily, can we talk? Madison is upset. I sat behind the wheel and read it with shaking hands. Madison was upset. Of course she was. Not because she had hurt me. Not because she had allowed our mother to push me out of the family like a dirty secret. She was upset because for the first time, there might be consequences. I drove home without answering anyone. That night, I opened my laptop and pulled up the contract for Rosewood Manor. There was in black and white. Client name, Emily Carter. Payment method, my card. Final balance, scheduled for automatic charge in 10 days. Cancellation policy. Full cancellation before final payment date would forfeit the deposit but cancel remaining balance and release the date if another event could be booked. I read it 3 times. Then I called the venue manager, Patricia. She knew me through my work. We had collaborated on events before. She answered warmly. Emily, final details time? Actually, I said, I need to cancel the final payment authorization. There was a pause. Oh. I also need to remove myself as financial guarantor for the event. Another pause, longer this time. Is everything okay? I laughed once, but it didn't sound like me. I've been uninvited. Patricia went silent. Then she said, very carefully, from the wedding? Yes. The wedding reception you paid for? Yes. Oh, sweetheart. That nearly broke me. I blinked hard and stared at the wall. She explained the process. Since the contract was in my name, I had every right to cancel my payment authorization. The deposit already paid would be lost. The couple could keep the date only if they signed a new contract and paid the balance themselves within 5 business days. I asked her to email the paperwork. She did. I signed it within 10 minutes. Then I turned off my phone and went to bed. I didn't sleep. The next morning, chaos arrived. There were 27 missed calls. Messages from Madison, Mom, Daniel, Aunt Carol, even cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Mom's messages started fake sweet. Emily, honey, please call me. There's been a misunderstanding. Then they became dramatic, then ugly. You always have to ruin everything because you're jealous. Madison's were worse because they were desperate. Please tell me you didn't cancel the hall. Emily, please. They said we have 5 days to pay or we lose it. Please don't do this to me. I stared at that one for a long time. Please don't do this to me. Not once did she say, I'm sorry. Daniel called while I was reading, and this time I answered. He sounded exhausted. Emily, he said, I'm sorry. 2 words. Simple words. The first apology I had heard. I closed my eyes. Thank you. I didn't know Madison talked to you like that. I knew there was discussion about seating and family tension, but I didn't know they actually told you not to come. I believed him. Daniel wasn't a liar. Passive sometimes, yes, but not cruel. Did you agree with it? I asked. There was a pause.
No, he said.
But I didn't stop it fast enough. That was honest. I can't fix this for you, I said. I know. The venue said you can take over the contract. I know. They emailed us. Then, that's what you need to do. He let out a tired breath. Madison's mother is saying you're punishing everyone. I smiled bitterly. Your future mother-in-law has confused punishment with boundaries. I think so too. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said quietly, I'm sorry they treated you like a checkbook. My throat tightened. That one hit deep. Thank you, Daniel. After we hung up, I cried for the first time. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just silent tears that slipped down my face while I sat at my kitchen table with cold coffee in front of me. The next few days were a storm. My mother posted vague quotes on Facebook about betrayal and family. Aunt Carol messaged me saying weddings make people crazy, and I should be the bigger person. A cousin told me I was selfish because the invitations had already gone out. I replied to exactly one message. It was from my mother. She wrote, Your sister is devastated. You need to fix this. I wrote back. I did not uninvite myself. I simply stopped paying for an event where I am not welcome. She replied instantly. You are twisting this. I didn't answer. On the fourth day, Madison came to my house. I saw her through the doorbell camera standing on my porch, eyes red, hair in a messy bun, wearing one of my old university hoodies she had stolen years ago. For a second, I almost opened the door. Almost. Then she knocked. Emily, she called.
Please.
I know you're in there. I stood in the hallway, hand over my mouth. She started crying. I messed up, okay? I messed up. Just open the door. I opened it. She looked smaller than usual. Can I come in? I stepped aside. She walked into my living room and looked around like she hadn't been there 100 times. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then she said, We can't afford the hall. I know. Mom said maybe you could just put the payment back through and not come. And then after the wedding, I laughed. I couldn't help it. Madison stopped talking. You came here to ask me that? Her face crumpled.
No.
I don't know. I'm panicking. Madison, do you hear yourself? She looked down. You let them decide I was an embarrassment, I said. You sat across from me and asked me not to come to your wedding, then expected me to keep paying for it. I know. No, I don't think you do. She wiped her face. Mom said Daniel's family might judge us. And you chose to judge me first. That silenced her. I kept going because once I started, I couldn't stop. I was there when Dad left. I was there when Mom fell apart. I was there when you needed shoes, rides, school supplies, prom dresses, rent money, birthday cakes, advice, protection. I have been there for you in ways you will never fully understand. She was crying hard now. And when it was time to stand beside me, not even for something difficult, just to let me sit at your wedding like your sister, you couldn't do it. I'm sorry, she whispered. I looked at her carefully. It was the apology I had wanted, but it had come wrapped in panic, not understanding. Are you sorry you hurt me? I asked. Or sorry you lost the venue? She covered her face. That was answer enough. I nodded. You should go. Emily.
No.
You should go. She left crying, and this time I did not run after her. The wedding did not happen at Rosewood Manor. That was the part everyone blamed me for. What they did not mention was that Daniel's parents offered to help with a smaller venue, but my mother rejected it because it was not elegant enough. They did not mention that Madison could have downsized the guest list. They did not mention that the wedding could still happen, just not in the fairy tale hall I was expected to provide from outside the door. Instead, my mother told everyone I had canceled the reception out of jealousy. The story spread fast. Emily was bitter. Emily was divorced and miserable. Emily couldn't stand seeing her sister happy. Emily used money to control people. I heard it all. At first, it hurt. Then it became almost funny, because the people repeating it were the same people who had never offered a single pound toward the wedding. The wedding was postponed, not canceled. Postponed. Madison and Daniel fought badly during that time. I know because Daniel called me once, not to complain but to apologize again. He told me Madison was starting to realize how much control our mother had taken over the wedding. She's embarrassed, he said. She should be. I know. Daniel, I don't want your marriage to start with me as the villain.
It won't, he said.
Not if I can help it. A month passed, then another. I focused on work. I took on 2 big design projects. I started going for long walks at night just to clear my head. For the first time in years, my phone was quiet because I had blocked half my family. It was peaceful. Painful, but peaceful. Then, one Sunday afternoon, Madison showed up again. This time she didn't cry on the porch. She stood there holding an envelope. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. She looked different. Tired, but steadier. I'm not here to ask for money, she said quickly.
Good. She nodded, accepting that.
I wrote you a letter, but I wanted to say some of it out loud. I folded my arms. She took a breath. I let Mom make me afraid of being judged. I let her convince me that looking perfect mattered more than being loyal. And I treated you like your love was something I could use without respecting you. You were right. I didn't understand what I was apologizing for before. I was scared about the venue. I was scared people would talk. But after everything got quiet, I realized the worst part wasn't losing the hall. It was knowing I became the kind of person who could tell my sister she was too embarrassing to attend my wedding while expecting her to pay for it. My eyes burned. I don't expect you to forgive me today, she said. I just need you to know I'm sorry. Really sorry. For the first time, I believed her. What changed? I asked. She gave a sad smile. Daniel. I raised an eyebrow. He told me he wouldn't marry someone who could do that to family and not see the problem. That surprised me. He said that? She nodded. He said postponing the wedding might be the best thing that happened to us, because he got to see what marriage to me would look like if I kept letting Mom control everything. I looked down. Madison held out the envelope. There's money in here.
Not all of it.
I can't repay everything yet, but it's the first part of the deposit you lost. Daniel and I made a plan to pay you back over time. I stared at the envelope. Then I took it. Not because I needed the money, because she needed to understand that apologies come with action.
Thank you, I said.
She looked relieved but didn't push. We're getting married at the community garden in September, she said. Small ceremony. No big reception. Just dinner after at Daniel's parents' house. I nodded. That sounds nice. It is. She swallowed. I'd like you to come. As my sister. Not as a pair. Not as a fixer. Just my sister. I did not say yes right away. The old me would have hugged her immediately. The old me would have softened too quickly and made everything easy. But I was learning. I'll think about it, I said. She nodded. That's fair. Then she left. I stood in the doorway for a long time after her car pulled away. In September, I went to the wedding. I wore a blue dress Madison had always loved on me. I sat in the second row, not hidden in the back. Daniel smiled when he saw me. Madison cried when she walked down the aisle, and this time it wasn't dramatic or performative. It was real. Our mother was there too. She barely spoke to me. That was fine. At the small dinner afterward, there were no chandeliers, no custom lighting, no grand ballroom, no expensive floral centerpieces. There were folding chairs, fairy lights, homemade food, and people who actually wanted the couple to be happy. And somehow, it was more beautiful than Rosewood Manor ever could have been. Halfway through the dinner, Madison stood up to make a toast. She held Daniel's hand and looked around the room. I used to think weddings were about proving something, she said. That you were loved, successful, accepted, good enough. But I learned the hard way that if you have to hurt the people who truly love you just to impress people who barely know you, you're building the wrong kind of life. The room went quiet. Then she looked at me. My sister Emily taught me that love is generous, but it is not something you're entitled to. She has shown up for me my whole life, and I failed to show up for her when it mattered. I'm grateful she is here today, not because she paid for anything, but because she is my sister. I cried then. I tried not to, but I did. My mother looked like she had swallowed a lemon, which made Aunt Carol quietly cough into her napkin. Daniel raised his glass.
To family that learns, he said.
Everyone drank. Later that night, Madison hugged me outside under the fairy lights. I know it's not fixed, she whispered.
No, I said.
But it's better. She nodded. That was enough. People still tell the Rosewood Manor story, like, I caused a disaster. They say I canceled the reception hall. They say I ruined the wedding. They say I made a point. And maybe I did. But here is the truth. I did not cancel my sister's wedding. I canceled my payment on a room where I was not welcome. There is a difference. For years, I thought being the strong one meant absorbing every insult, fixing every problem, and proving my love by how much I was willing to sacrifice. But love that requires you to disappear is not love. Family that only values you when your card clears is not family. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is let people experience the cost of their own choices. Madison still paid me back, little by little. Not because I demanded it, but because she wanted to. Our relationship is not what it was before, but maybe that is not a bad thing. Before, she leaned on me like a safety net and never asked if I was tired. Now she calls to ask how I am. She visits without needing anything. She listens when I speak. As for my mother, she still tells people I embarrass the family. I let her, because the people who matter know the truth. And the people who do not know the truth were never paying attention anyway. The funny thing is, when I think back to that original wedding plan, I remember Madison standing in my kitchen, crying about wanting one perfect day.
She did get one.
Just not the one she imagined. She got a day without pretending. A day without fake elegance. A day where the people who stayed were the people who mattered. And I got something too. I got my dignity back. That was worth far more than any reception hall.